I'm going to get rocking and rolling here. So my name's Andrew, head of customer operations for ShipAngel. ShipAngel is a AI native software that we have built for the logistics industry to help manage ocean, air, international trucking, and domestic trucking rates. And so our platform allows you to manage all of your rates in one place that is not a spreadsheet. And additionally, we allow you to submit those rates and those quotes from your vendors in the formats in which they present them to you to allow you to focus on negotiating and managing versus the key punching of entering those rates into the systems. What you're seeing here, and I think everyone should be able to see my screen, is the ShipAngel login section. What's really useful here is we've built the system with single sign-on built right into the platform to allow you to get into the platform and utilize all of the benefits of having a single sign-on that most enterprise organizations have today. Whether you're using a Microsoft or Google, we can allow you to utilize those logins to get inside the system. Once you log inside the ShipAngel system, what's highly useful is it's configurable to each user. And so one user might load into the search page, another user might load into the My Routes page, which I can show in a little bit. Someone might decide to be in dashboards. Every user, whether it be finance, operations, procurement, any part of the organization that is utilizing shipping rates can access the system, and we can ensure that their view is tailored to the stuff we want them to see and the stuff you maybe don't want them to see. And so we have robust rules and settings, users and roles that we've built to be able to highlight visibility into certain parts of the section of the system and ignore parts that you don't want your finance to see, where your operations team doesn't need to see a certain aspect. We give you the tools to control what data your teams can see and use inside the platform. The most fundamental part of the ShipAngel platform is our search function. This is where you'll probably spend most of your time, is inside the search function, understanding what your rates are. And we can do this on an ocean, air, and truck basis. I'm going to start in the air. If this is your first demo, we've done a couple of these live demos over the last handful of weeks and months. I definitely recommend going back and checking some of the others out. This one's going to be a little bit more tailored towards things other than ocean. And so we do a lot of ocean, and I will show you guys ocean, but I want to show you air a little bit to understand how the product works. And so inside the air section, what we can do is we can put in any origin or destination that we want to search from, both from a warehouse location, whether that be a door location, or we can utilize the airport locations. Everyone's air freight works a little bit differently. Most are moving on a door-to-door basis. Some are still moving on a port-to-port basis or an airport-to-airport basis. And so here you can go in and you can put in low codes for different places. I happen to live here in Massachusetts, and so there's some rates here from some locations that are very close to me. But also we could decide, well, I want to look at a rate out of Bangkok. Whether I'm looking at the airport or the door location, I can search for both of them. On this side, I could also put in, different destination airports or destination cities. Maybe I want to go to someplace in China. Maybe I'm moving something to a door location in Frankfurt. Or in this scenario, I'm going to simply look up a rate to LAX. Additionally here, and this will be relevant in a second, is if I know the chargeable weight that I'm going to be shipping on, what we are going to allow you to do is put a chargeable weight in here to be able to very quickly understand what's my total cost on a hypothetical situation and who I should be using and what costs I should be expecting. When I click search, we're going to get all the results for this search. On the left, we have filters. We can go in and we can select maybe down to a specific vendor we want to look at. We can look at different things like transit time. If I don't have 3 days to move this and I know I need to move it in 2 or potentially a overnight style shipment, we can look at and try to narrow the search results down. We can also start to look at direct flights in different service levels. What you're seeing here is 2 different results. One is a DSV rate and one is a SIVA rate. And what you can see here is you get some basic information. Bangkok, LA, we have the departure days listed here, and we have the transit time information. At the bottom of the rate card, you're going to see what we call the rates here. And at the bottom, this is your very quick ability to say, hey, based on my rates, if I wanted to move on a 300 plus kilo shipment, what are my potential costs per kilo? What does it look like? And in order to get those numbers, we've built out what we call the surcharge tab. And in here, we can start to understand at the different weight breaks, what are my costs? At 45 plus kilos, what's my total cost? Well, it's going to be a $10-ish per kilo cost. And the approximate shipping cost here is also listed out at that 45. And this is what's useful. And this is where that weight comes in. If I know I'm going to be shipping, 58 kilos chargeable weight, what the system is going to do is it's going to tell you, and you can kind of see the color change on this column is now, hey, this is the rate column that we should be looking at to total your costs. And at the bottom of the rate card, it's now representing a total all-in value. And so this value is allowing you to now price out the shipment and get your total cost so that there's no what might be my cost. I got to plug it into we've done all the calculations for you to ensure that you can quickly see, hey, my cost is essentially just under $600. And what's useful about the system is it's always going to search or give you the search results for the lowest cost first. And so as you scroll down, you're always going to see a little bit higher and a little bit higher your cost. Additionally, inside this rate card, we've given you access to third-party benchmark data. It's one thing to compare my rates from DSV to CEVA and understand DSV's a less expensive option based on the amount of kilos that I plan on shipping. The actual cost is a little bit lower, and so I'm going to probably go with them. It's another thing to now be able to compare those rates against the market. And so we bring in third-party benchmark data to give you the ability to say, hey, in the 300 kilo bracket, my rates based on the data I have in this scenario are about 7% above the market, which is not a huge difference. But if we start to look at some other weight breaks, we can start to see some different values to say, hey, if I'm shipping greater than 1,000, I'm actually below market. Like, this is great, wonderful. I'm doing a good job in my procurement. What it can allow you to do is surface issues and problems with rates. And this is where that different teams could be doing different things inside the system. A procurement person might want to look at this and go, hey, we have a great 1,000 plus kilo rate, but we don't ship 1,000 plus kilos. We're a 100 to 150 kilos on average chargeable weight. That rate is the one I need to look at. And the system's going to give you that ability to understand based on the cargo that I move, where do my rates sit in comparison to that market average? And you can do this today inside our air freight section. We also have the ability to do it inside our ocean section. And so coming back to the search page, I'm going to click into the ocean section, and I'm going to click a previous shipment here, Shanghai to New York City. I'm actually going to do a different one. I'm in a different mood today. I'm going to do US LAX or Los Angeles. And what's useful here is you can search by Shanghai, similar to in the ocean or in the air section. You could search by a door location, or you could sort by a port location. And so you could have your door rates amongst your ocean port to port rates. But you could also have the ability to search from a country. If I didn't know where in China I was going to source something, I could potentially leave this from section blank, or I could simply say China. And this is going to give me all my rates from China to LAX. And so when I do the search, I'm going to get multiple results. I got some Ningbo, I got some Tianjin, Yantian. I got a whole bunch of rates. These all happen to be DSV rates, and they all happen to be spot rates. And so what's super useful here is I very quickly can see my lowest rate from China to LA. If I'm trying to figure out where to source cargo from, I don't know where I want to bring it from, but I know where it potentially is, and I know where I need to bring it. I can say, hey, 2686 per 40 foot, this might be the one that I need to consider moving from. And so we can start to get an idea of how do my costs help me in sourcing. I don't know where I want to source it, but based on the rates and the pricing, this is the cheapest one potentially that I want to source from. Additionally, we're going to give you that ability to filter down your results on the top left-hand corner, and you could start to filter down by results. In this scenario, all I have is DSV rates on this lane, and so I only have one vendor. But if I wanted to utilize different filters, understanding prices, if I have a range of prices that I can afford for a shipment, I can filter down to price. If I have an equipment type, and so dry, reefer, NOR, out of gauge, in gauge flat racks, all of that information we can start to segment. And so that when you're looking at a rate card, you can know, hey, this is a dry shipment, this is a reefer shipment, and here are my costs hypothetically if I want to ship on that move. Additionally, we have filters around transit time. We have filters around transshipment locations. If you want a direct service versus something that transships somewhere, or you're trying to avoid a problem location, hey, I can't transship in Korea. There's a port strike in Korea. And so if I start to utilize something that goes through Korea, I'm putting myself at a disadvantage. You can start to understand and sort of segment those issues or problems and prevent them from happening. Once you filter things down to the results you need, all of the information you might ever need for your rate card or your rate on an lane is inside this rate card. And so you have your total prices down here. A new feature that we very recently have added is the idea of having this sort of drop down quick view of how is my rate trended. And so in this scenario, we can look and see that the arrow is down. And so in this scenario, green is good, arrow down, green is good. My rate has gone down 21% since the last update. That's wonderful news. That's good to see the progression of your rate. You also might want to know, hey, my rate has been trending upwards. And you can also do that here on the far right with our chart and graph. What's super useful here is you can decide what view you want to see your rate in. And so this rate happens to be a short-term rate. And so I adjusted the graph to be short-term. If you have rates that are on the long-term market, you can also compare against long-term rates. The worst thing you want to do is be looking at a rate and understanding I'm high or low in comparison to that benchmark rate, but then to find out actually I was comparing myself against, apples to oranges. Here you're going to get that ability to look at the short term versus short term. And what I can generate here is in the last 3 months, the blue line is the market average, the green line is my rate. And what I can tell you is as of the 11th of July, my rate's 12% higher than the market. And so my rate has come down, as we were able to point out here with the arrow, but it's also useful now to be able to say, hey, despite the fact my rate has come down, it's still above market. Maybe it's a conversation I need to have with the DSV the next time they come and say, hey, why aren't you shipping with me? You can show them the data in the platform and say, hey, your rate's 15% higher than the market. Maybe this is why I'm not shipping with you. There's lots of information that you can generate from here. And we've also recently given the ability to look at has versus non-has. And so if you have hazardous rates inside the platform, you can start to look at those rates in comparison against the market to understand, am I fast? Am I slow? Am I competitive? Am I not competitive? Additionally, inside the rate card, another third-party data that we bring in is the idea of transit times. And so here we have a 16-day transit time that's listed. What this references is your provider is telling you it takes 16 days. What we're telling you is that the market on this lane is actually 22 days. And so because this is an NVO move with DSV, we don't necessarily know the underlying carrier. In some cases we might, and when we do, we'll present that for you. But when we don't know the underlying carrier, we're going to try to present market data. And right now, what we're telling you is the market data on this is a little bit slower than what your potential KPI is from your vendor. We do that through the schedules tab. Inside the schedule tab, you're going to start to see transit times and associated ETDs and ETAs on a given lane to understand what are the transit times on this lane, how long is it taking, and is my rate fast or slow? I believe strongly the ShipAngel platform is able to give you an idea of not just what your rates are, but what do your rates mean? Am I fast? Am I slow? Am I competitive or am I not competitive? This understanding of what your rates are and what they mean is really advantageous in today's fast-paced, fast-changing supply chain world. Additionally, inside the rate card, similar to what I was showing in the air freight here, is you get the ability to understand what's my base rate, what's my bunker, what's my securities, what are all the pieces of that puzzle that give me that $2,686 rate here in the bottom of the rate card. All of that can be listed out here into the surcharge section. If demurrage detention is a piece of data that your providers present to you, we can also present it here inside the platform to give you visibility to that free time that you have. Additionally here, we don't have the data populated, but should CO2 be an important part of your decision-making process, if you have, ESG goals that the company is trying to pursue, we can give you that data to, again, understand not just fast or slow, am I competitive or not, is my CO2 footprint better or worse based on the provider that I may be choosing to move my rates with. This is our search function. Our search function is available today for FCL Ocean, air freight and FTL trucking. What's interesting here inside the trucking section is because it's generally geared towards full truckload, we could also look at things in terms of intermodal freight. And so if you're moving stuff intermodally in the United States, if you're using what I would call intermodal in Europe, maybe going from UK to Germany on a barge, regardless of how it's moving, if you're moving stuff on a full unit truck or full unit basis, we can represent rates inside the platform for you. And it works the same way as our ocean and our air, where you get the ability to see my rate cards on a specific lane, what are my surcharges, what's my transit time, and really be able to make a informed decision on, hey, do I need to negotiate better? Do I even have a rate for this lane? And additionally, if I do have rates, how do they potentially compare with my different vendors? The only thing that we don't have today inside the truck platform that we do have in our other platforms is the ability to benchmark against the market. That is something that we're working on. We have a couple leads on some third-party data providers that we're looking to partner with to be able to bring that data in sometime this year. But if it's important to you, if you have access to that data, we can always look at incorporating that data for you today as well. Outside of our search function, the second most important part of our platform, or really the 1A or 1B part of our platform, is the idea that we are an AI native software. We are not building our software just to have AI a part of the system. It's not a vanity, if you will, within our platform. For us, AI works in two different places. The most recent addition to our platform is the idea of our AI Copilot. Inside the Copilot, you can start to ask questions about your rates to the same AI that we're utilizing internally to process your rates, which I'll get into next. But the idea here is you don't just look at your rates for fun. I'm not scrolling through my Shanghai rates today because I'm interested in understanding, how Shanghai is doing for fun. Generally, you want to know what's my Shanghai to LA rate because I have to move a shipment, or I need to do a report for my finance team, or my boss is asking me why our shipments are consistently late. Well, we're underpaying against the market. Maybe that's an actionable piece of information you need to find out. You can also start to ask those questions to the Copilot. And so we can ask simple questions like, what is my 40 high cube rate for MSC from Shanghai to, we'll say, New York City. And I also need to spell it correctly. It's one thing AI can't help you with is spelling, but it is pretty good when you don't spell correctly. This is going to be useful because it helps you get these answers in mere seconds. And so I could search a rate, I could find my surcharges, I could total the number, I could do all that, and it probably wouldn't take me much more than a minute or two. But what's useful here is I could pull up my phone, walking between meeting rooms in the office, ask the Copilot, sit down in the meeting, go, hey, Joe, that question you asked, sir, our total rate with MSC is $2,528 all in. And you can get that information in mere seconds. And you can start to also ask more complicated questions. What is my average rate? We'll do Shanghai to Antwerp for a 40 high cube. And what's useful here is, again, similar to how you might use, a Chat GTP or a Claude or a Gemini to help you with business decisions. We're also helping you utilize the AI to surface relevant information to then understand, hey, what's my average rate Shanghai to Antwerp? Not what's my lowest or not what's MSC rate, what's the average rate? And the system's going to be able to do the calculations for you, present the math behind it, and say, look, your average rate is $2,165. That's wonderful to know because then what I can do is take that and use it for maybe budgetary purposes. I need to put a budget together for next year. We're going to ship 100,000 FEU. What's my average rate on my most important lanes? And then let me use that to build my budget versus let me stare at spreadsheets. Let me scroll through the search results. Let me find the answers. You can ask for the answers and start to get them. There is limitations to this. There is limitations to all artificial intelligence chat conversations, but this will help you get your answers faster when you may not have the time to do some of the research and the analysis. That is our newest AI feature that we've developed. One of the most important piece, the sort of sort of breadwinner, if you will, of the ShipAngel platform is our ability to now process um, incoming rates and quotes utilizing our internal artificial intelligence system. And so it's hard for me to show it, but I'm going to do my best here. But what we've done is we've built an internal system, and it's basically a artificial intelligence system that we have built ourselves and utilize internally to process all of the rate quotes. And so an example of this might be, you get a rate quote that comes in and it's a PDF. Maybe it's similar to this document here that I'm showing. Or maybe you get a rate sheet that comes in like this, and it's an Excel document with, hundreds, maybe even thousands. Crap, it could be tens of thousands of rows of data. And now you have to either make conclusions or understand this from just looking at these pieces of data. Or what you can do today is simply take these quotes, regardless of the format in which it's presented to you, Excel, PDF, emails, API, EDI data, if you're getting that from your providers. I always make the joke that, take a picture of a cocktail napkin with a rate on it, and we'll process that rate for you. And what it's going to be is you spend the time negotiating your rates. You forward those rate quotes as they come into you in whatever format they're presented to you, and you send that to ShipAngel. We then turn around and we process those rate sheets for you, and we put them inside the platform in mere hours. And so rate sheet comes in, 20,000 lines on it. Maybe it's your RFQ for the quarter, RFQ for the year, or it's just a spot rate where you have 20,000 lanes. We have customers with 50,000 active rates. And so 20,000 is actually, half of our largest customers. We take those rates, we process them, we pull out the origins, we pull out the destinations, the free time, the surcharges, the lane IDs, all of the information that is represented in those rate cards. In addition, our solutions engineers who work on your rates every day and work with you to set up your account and help you manage your rates throughout the years, they're going to be able to look at that and then add in extra details that may not be on those rate sheets. They know your account, they know your business, they know all of your origins and destinations. They're going to be able to compile all that information and present it on the ShipAngel platform so that you're not just looking at a large spreadsheet or a PDF to understand what the rates are. You simply negotiate, forward the response to us, and a number of hours later, and sometimes as quick as a handful, 5 to 6, 10 hours later, it's in the ShipAngel platform for you to review, but also for your entire organization to review. Everyone in China, in India, in Europe, in the US, you all get access to this 24/7, 365, both inside your browser in your computer as well as a browser tab on your phone. You're on the go. You have a sales team that's utilizing the platform to quote. They always are going to have access to the most updated rates as they're available. And so as the rate sheets come in, you're going to get the ability to potentially bring those directly into the platform. I always use the phrase, we have two ways to get rates into the platform. One is direct, sort of the super highway, direct origin destination, boom, no transshipments, if you will, if we're going to talk about an ocean product. Or we can utilize what we call the amendment guard feature. And the idea here is it comes into the system and it sits into a queue for you to now review those rate quotes. This review process isn't to see, did the AI do it right? Did ShipAngel do it right? The question is more so, did my provider give me the rates I expected? Or how do those rates compare based on what they did send me? And so inside the ShipAngel Amendment Guard, I have two files here. One is a Kuehne+Nagel offer for some rates, and another is a CMA CGM rate sheet for Q3. What I'm going to do briefly, though, is show you a previous DSV upload. And so right now, this DSV upload is comparing the DSV rates in comparison to the current active rates. I'm going to go back and pick an older DSV upload and see, okay, how did my rates compare against my June DSV rates? And so those rates we were looking at earlier from Shanghai into LA, let's find those ones. Search US LAX very briefly. And what it's going to be able to give you the ability is to understand how did those rates change versus the rates I have today. So it doesn't want to work. To LAX should pop in here. Oh, we can't seem to find it here at the moment, but what you can see here is Shanghai to New York City. What the system is telling you is your base rate has changed. And so the base rate went down $412, which is wonderful news. But in this scenario, the 20-foot rate actually went up. Ooh, that's not good. As we scroll to the right, we then get the ability to see per container surcharges. Did your bunker, did your securities, did your, insert surcharge name change? But as we scroll right, you get the most important piece of detail. Did the total all-in value change versus what was there previously from this provider? And so I can scroll through and understand what my dollars and cents changes are on a lot of these lanes. And I can also refilter by using the arrows. And so very quickly, I can validate what DSV sent me was competitive or it was not. Was it what you expected or was it not? Is it the right rate for you now to put inside your platform? And so inside the amendment guard section, and inside that sort of second route into the platform, I can now evaluate new offers. And so I'm getting an offer from Kuehne+Nagel. I can understand, what's my total rate on these various lanes, and do I want to accept this offer, or do I want to tell Kuehne+Nagel, look, go pound sand because DSV is 20 to 30% lower than you. All of this analysis is being done inside of spreadsheets, inside of emails, inside of calculators. Today, it lives inside the platform in a apples to apples format. I know what my offer is for Kuehne+Nagel. I know what the total in Kuehne+Nagel is versus the total in DSV is because they're apples to apples. There is no difference between the rates. Those two sections, our search section and our ability to process rates via AI, are the fundamental pillars that the ShipAngel platform was built on. Today in this demo, I was able to show you a snapshot into the two of them. I was also able to show a little bit more than I normally do inside the air and the trucking section. If you have any questions or you're interested in seeing the platform in its entirety, we would love the ability to get on call, for 30, 45 minutes to be able to show the platform to you and maybe potentially even get your data inside the platform. What we've seen is through the sales cycle is what we call strategic demos. Signing NDA, bringing your rates in the platform can really bring the platform to life and really give you some visibility into how it could profoundly change your day-to-day activities as well as the rest of your team's activities. Ultimately, we want to give you back time in your day, and we also want to give you back some really good analysis to make good decisions. And so you're not just winging it or hoping you're making the right decision when you go to ship some cargo. I'm Andrew, head of operations for ShipAngel. I really look forward to talking to some of you in the future. Don't be a stranger. And thanks for joining the webinar today, guys. Talk really soon, okay?